Just a quick preface to today's video, gentlemen. You can finally find my finished book, Masculine Gene Expression, the science behind androgens, testosterone, and the latest research in pheromones, available in the link below, either for pre-order or order by the time that you watch this video. But other than that, I have a really interesting post to share with you on an individual's unbiased, scientific, objective, empirical view on their particular experience of abstinence, the pros, the cons, and fundamentally from a scientific and factual perspective, that their ideas, their theories. So this individual begins by saying that they're going to list all the good things and the bad things about their experience. They did do this at 16 years old. So first and foremost, they begin their exploration into improved athletic performance. This is the best benefit that I experienced because my mood is almost entirely dependent on how I play football. I also play football. And what's interesting to note for me is a drastic difference from myself whenever I'm playing football and I'm, what would you say, my nervous system is working well. What we're really talking about here, this is a really interesting term that you gentlemen need to become very, very familiar with in terms of the dialogue of SR, celibacy, and abstinence, is neurasthenia. I'll say that one more time, neurasthenia. And this is a word used to describe a condition which means a weakness of the nervous system. Now, when an individual is gorging on this particular sexual appetite, they will experience neurasthenia. And this has been documented in many scientific papers that I've actually researched and delineated on my Patreon. These are, quite long lectures, so you're going to require some patience there. 45 minutes to an hour plus on, and I forget the gentleman's name, but it was a scientific paper done on the relationship between neurasthenia and sexual behavior. And the author, as well as, from his observations anecdotally and also scientifically, noted that there was an increase in neurasthenia with individuals who were more frequently experiencing sexual release than those who are not. So going back to the point that I was going to describe is when my nervous system is healthy, working well, my reaction times are quicker. You've got to have a lot of peripheral awareness when you're playing football. When you need to look left, you need to look right before you receive the ball. You also need to receive the ball in space. So your first touch into space or away from an attacker is really, really important. Shielding the ball, your agility has to be good. And it is a drastic difference in your ability to perform when your nervous system is weak, is degraded, is not firing well comparatively to when it is working very, very well. So it's an interesting congruence that I've also experienced with this individual's particular anecdote. So I'll continue. I was really surprised to see how frequently I was entering the flow state and was completely focused and concentrated on the game while playing. Anyone who plays a sport really often knows that feeling of relying on your instinct and your body reacting before you do. So this individual is just describing what I prefaced. It is their nervous system, their reactions to particular facets of the game. I was doing skill moves and coming up with super smart plays randomly, and I'm not exaggerating. These effects took about 2 weeks of retention to set in. All of my friends noticed this, and I was getting compliments from the opposing teams after games. This also applied to video games. This is a really interesting point because equally, look, a lot of you see that I do have a PlayStation 5. I don't play, I really go in seasons of it. Of course, entertainment in and of itself is not a evil or malicious thing, but your relationship with how frequently you entertain yourself is something to be perhaps desired. I recently made a terrible decision to buy the new Call of Duty, which always makes me angry, actually. It doesn't leave me in a good mood. I often try to play games to relieve some stress or to allow my mind to focus on a singular task and therefore dispel any anxious feelings or depression. Not that I get this a lot, but I was finding that Call of Duty was becoming a little bit more cumbersome to my emotions and to my mind when I was playing. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, again, noticing continuity of reflexes of your nervous system working well when you are doing these things comparatively to when you are not. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I recently went through a courting period that was unsuccessful, that did encompass what I would call modern sexual relations, which would be, again, the modern way most man and woman court each other and then initially have sexual contact. So I wasn't practicing anything like tantra or kareza. It's always a difficult conversation to build up or to bring up, pardon me, when you are establishing initial rapport with another partner. And in my experience, it usually is better if you introduce that conversation a little bit later down the line, maybe a month in, maybe 2 months in. Anyway, I can do another video on that if that is something that interests you in, let's say, starting to bring up the conversation of more conscious sexual relationships in your relationships, if that makes any kind of sense towards you. Anyway, feeling relaxed and confident in everything I did. The urge to become really good at everything. Best way to describe this is like when you're playing an RPG game. This individual likes games. You just have that random urge to max out all your stats and complete a game. For me, this applied to all my hobbies. I got back into playing piano and drawing. I'm obsessed with training. Like seriously, I went from I want to get strong and look good without a shirt on to I want to improve my flexibility, my speed, my jumping, my agility. I had days when I was training 6 to 7 hours, and I'm not even exaggerating. I have ambivalence towards that. I could be wrong. I understand this perspective, and it is really due to the range and capacity of energy that you start to draw within yourself when you begin to consciously commit to this kind of practice. I, again, similarly recall myself bringing up new hobbies, playing the handpan. I want to buy a guitar, an electric guitar and a bass guitar, because I recently went to a gig that I found very artistically inspiring, and I equally wanted to emulate and channel my energy in that particular avenue. I've recently started up longboarding and skateboarding. So I've got a longboard and a cruiser. It's interesting. You start to see life from a perspective where there's more opportunity than there is less opportunity. I am really, really frustrated with individuals who get bored easily or who are very fickle and cynical about life, that life is boring, that there's nothing to do. These kinds of, get up, go to work, go home, eat, and do it all over again. There is so much to do. There is too much to do, in my personal opinion. And perhaps that won't be revealed to you unless you start to heal your dopamine receptors. You begin to find more a greater joy and pleasure in novel tasks like learning an instrument, like going out on your skateboard. You return back to the child. Remember how you were when you were in primary school. Every day had so much joy, so much whimsy. You were never bored. You were never bored. You could entertain yourself with a stick. Like I remember playing, Knights and Dragons. Knights and Dragons. It was more trying to, reenact Lord of the Rings when I was at primary school. And I would be, Legolas or Aragorn. And, you play, you have fun. Like a stick. A stick you find on the ground can give you 3 to 4 hours of endless entertainment. And now look at most modern man. Isn't that crazy? Doesn't that break your tender heart? How much joy and experience and whimsy you experienced when you were a child comparatively to now. What changed? What changed was you have allowed yourself to become hooked. You've bound yourself, you've chained yourself, you've put yourself in prison to this artificial material that is seeking to destroy your very neurology. More competitive and energetic. This kind of peaks during weeks 1 and 2, but yes, I did have more energy and my competitiveness shifted from I don't want to lose to I completely want to dominate. I wanted every goal and highlight to be mine in every match, not anyone else's. However, a unique thing that happened was that it felt very nice to go against people who are much better than me overall playing football. I didn't feel like a fight, but more like a friendly play fight, but taken really seriously. In my particular interpretation of this benefit is a relationship towards your androgen receptors upregulating and your testosterone, your free-base testosterone, becoming more available to you. Because one of the heightened benefits of increased free T is temperamental changes. And this, in my personal opinion, is leaps and bounds more important than the physiological ones that you can experience. That the really superficial ones of increased facial hair, of muscle bulk, of, all the things that you can see, the trappings of testosterone. No, for me, it's all about what it does to my mind. It makes you find pleasure in competition, find pleasure in entrepreneurship. Like, imagine that. Imagine the consequences of your depression, your lethargy, your apathy is hormonal. It's endocrine related. It is not just your belief system. It's not just who you are or how the way the world works. You're unhealthy. Your hormones are imbalanced. And then you realize when you get these things fixed, oh, I like going to work. I like doing extra work and showing my employer that I am better than my colleagues. And then in 3 months' time, oh, I'm getting more money. Oh, I'm a manager. Do you see? Do you see? You don't always have to have entrepreneurships or business ambitions. I believe you can accrue a high quality of life even in the occupation that you have now if you have the ambition, if you have the temperament of a man who is congruent and consistent with high testosterone levels. And this is a system to do that. Another plug to my book, Masculine Gene Expression, gives you all the supplements, all the research, all the literature, all the references, all the anecdotes, all the amounts you should be taking as well, all the eliminations, all the lifestyle. I make it easy. It is easy. It is a recipe for high T, for 4-digit free T. All there for you, with sensitivity to expression of the masculine genes. As I mentioned before, it is not enough to have 4-digit T if you cannot express it in your genes, if you can't turn on the temperamental changes, androgen receptor sensitivity, all these things, more androgens, DHEA, DHT, these things are imperative. Let me say it again. The reason for your apathy and lethargy is a hormonal problem. It is not a predisposed belief system that you need to keep running through your mind. Moving on. Less difficult to take action and break habits. That awful feeling of doom scrolling or just having that thing in the back of your head that you have to do but can't just disappears. Breaking out of procrastination was easier. Music sounded better. When I scroll through TikTok, I was saving a lot more sounds than usual. And when listening to music, I actually danced and sung out loud, even in public. This might sound like a con because I look like a dumbass. Another random point is I wasn't skipping songs every 30 seconds. You know I have ambivalence with TikTok. You will not find me on there. I do not have it. I think somebody else set one up for me. I don't think it's good for you. The more interesting point in this particular description is this idea that you will find more novelty in music, in simpler things in life, and also your lack of what would you say? Your self-conception. You no longer feel that anxiety of maybe singing in public. And I actually think that is a benefit, not a con, because it shows people that you do not care, that you do not need to seek validation from anyone else apart from yourself. And that is one of the most masculine things. That is one of the most powerful things, that you are not a slave to anybody. You're not a slave to anybody. So I count that as a W, my friend. I laughed more. I would actually often laugh out loud at videos with my friends. Better social skills. I don't think this applies to everyone because I've always been known as funny and extroverted, but my brain just came up with thoughts faster. I had more interesting conversations. I could put into words things I thought about easier. I stuttered less and my brain was sharper. Life moves more slowly. It doesn't feel like days just randomly fly by anymore because you have instilled in yourself a deep presence. Being alone isn't as depressing as it used to be. In fact, it is peaceful. Mood became more stable. I stopped yawning, which used to literally be one of my biggest problems no matter how much sleep I got. Random urge to shadowbox or fight. A relationship with testosterone, maybe. I saw a girl who looked lost and asked her where she was going, and she told me she couldn't find a pool her friends told her to meet up at. I took her there and her friends asked me to stay. Boom, new friend group made, and now we go out every weekend to meet each other's family. This would have never happened to my old self. Open to trying new things as well. Now, these were all the pros. This individual does go on to describe the cons, some of which are actually quite concerning. So we'll keep on going here. The first con is constant energy. This gets annoying after a while. I've already had symptoms of ADHD and hyperactivity since I was a kid, but this seems to have multiplied it. I was constantly annoying my siblings or play fighting with my brother to the point where they even called me annoying. Now, I would say on this particular point, when you start to do something very unconventional, like the practice that we are describing, you have to live an unconventional life. There have been times, more recently actually, where if I can't sleep because I have too much energy, I will get up in the middle of the night and I will do something. I have gotten up at 3 a.m. in the morning before and just read. I've got at 3 a.m. in the morning before and done some meditation, done some journaling. This, again, I'll keep with what I prefaced. You are doing something that 99% of men and the world do not do. That is going to mean that the way that you choose or have to live your life as a consequence of this change is equally going to be unconventional to the 99%. You are a unique character in this world, and some of the usual rules will not apply to you. The 6 to 7, 8 hours of sleep, it may not apply to you. Do not feel that you need to force yourself into a conventional paradigm of recovery if you are doing something unconventional. Don't be bound by these things. Trust, I know this sounds like a politician's answer, but you have to trust your intuition in this way. If you are not tired, you shouldn't need to force yourself to do that thing. If you have capacity and the energy and the vigor to do another workout, to go out for a run, to train multiple times in a day, go and do that thing. Go to the gym twice, hell, 3 times, if that's what your intuition is telling you. And then you can start to see how you eat up the miles in compared to every other average Joe. No pejoratives to myself there. And get ahead. This is the way. Mental exhaustion or drain from urges. After watching adult material, after a while, adult material urges transition from super strong to mild nostalgic missing. And it's like a 24/7 itch that you have to scratch. Yeah, again, I would just describe this as a testament to healing. We have damaged ourselves for years and years and years and years and years, and this isn't something that you get over overnight. I used to smoke cigarettes, and I haven't smoked cigarettes and cannabis since 2018. So it's going to be nearly 7 years. However, if I'm at a social gathering or even if I just walk past somebody smoking a cigarette, I will get that itch. I will get the nostalgia. I will get that feeling. I will want to have a cigarette. I don't think I'll ever get rid of that particular experience. It's just something that you have to live with. You're literally always thinking about women. Like if I see a hot girl out, it's literally my all or nothing. Sometimes it makes me feel like a creep. I'll be coming up with a way to talk to her or make a conversation. However, a unique good thing is when I'd see a hot girl in real life, I wouldn't think sexual thoughts about her. I think it's interesting to look at this particular practice as a instigator for perhaps cold approach. Remember, your biology doesn't recognize the utility of Hinge, of Tinder, of dating apps, of Instagram. It recognizes that your endocrinology is going to serve as a medium to get over any kind of approach anxiety and enthrall you and almost throw you, almost just like throw you like a javelin towards the opposite sex. You are supposed to, this is the biological prerogative in that way. And I don't see this as a negative. I actually see this as something that, like, this is going to maybe sound like a wild thing, but I really think that men should really get into the pattern, even if they're, and this is going to sound like a wild thing, but I'll describe what I mean in just a moment, and perhaps this is a separate video for this. I really think that most men should get into a habit of approaching a person, a stranger, every single day without any single anxiety, even if it's not for the purposes of a sexual relationship, but just to kind of go with the innate life force that's in you that wants to connect with human beings. And in that way, you demonstrate yourself as a higher level individual, even when you're in a relationship, because there is a phenomenon. I mean, if anybody knows about hypergamy, if anybody knows about sexual dynamics and real feminine nature, is, again, this is going to sound a little bit out of pocket, but developing attraction or keeping attraction beyond having a relationship with a woman. I mean, let's say you get a girlfriend, you still have to demonstrate to her on a routinely basis that you are attractive in other people's eyes. And that might look like your ability to keep talking with women. Even, again, there's no intention for you to be promiscuous or to cheat or to be unfaithful, but you still need to show her subtly in other people's eyes, you are valuable. And I promise you, if you don't in some way instill this into your relationship with your wife, with your partner, with your fiance, you are going to regret it. And again, I think this needs a separate video to describe the subject, but this is what abstinence gives you. It allows you to give you the confidence and the zeal and the vigor to be able to demonstrate this on a more consistent level. Okay, can't say that word. Randomly getting sick. This individual does describe that. Okay, I've read this and I don't think this is particularly valid in this case. Maybe some people can disagree with me here. Random sickness never happened to me. If anything, less sickness. Nervous system is stronger. Immune system is stronger. Sometimes more angry and jealous. Individual describes how they have to be busy all the time and their routine has to be perfect. If they stay up a little bit, the devil will be whispering in their ear. If they're home alone, again, the same kind of temptation. I always say that make good behavior easy and bad behavior hard. I do have a program, if anybody's interested, whereby you can block all adult material on iPhones. It's only on iOS, so I can make it absolutely impossible for you to access any adult material on your phone. I use this on occasion myself. I don't think we should rely on these things, but again, if I ever feel like I'm moving into a season or period of my practice that I need a little bit more safeguards, or I might be more subject to temptation, I will employ these particular safeguards, and that allows that devil whispering in your ear to just go away because the possibility isn't even there. You know, you're welcome to comment that you should be strong enough to resist these things. I completely agree with you. That's fine. But in the same kind of way, when you recognize the neurology of and the psychology of addiction, is you never put yourself in a situation where you're liable to be vulnerable. If I was an alcoholic, it would be a unwise decision to go to a pub, to go and meet my friends at a bar, right? Maybe we can go somewhere where there's no alcohol instead. It's just simple things like that. Of course, again, there still is an argument for willpower, but there is also a bigger argument in just being smart, right? If you have a girlfriend, I imagine a lot of you would have a lot of, or some kind of anxiety with them going into a nightclub and getting drunk. She doesn't want to be unfaithful, but it makes you think about her integrity if she puts herself in a position where she's liable to be vulnerable. That's the truth. That is the truth. Unable to take insults without hitting back, which makes me look insecure. And that's about it. Things that the individual didn't experience, or myths in their particular objective empirical description. Depression. They still had depression. They still had some anxiety here and there. High energy all the time. They did describe on some occasions there were days where they felt lazy and unmotivated. Oh, here's an interesting one. They say they didn't experience any increase in strength or muscle density. Interesting. It makes you more attractive. I know that not releasing wouldn't change my whole face, but I've seen people say that it made their skin glow or be more clear, or their face got more angular and less bloated. They say he describes that this hadn't happened. Girls can smell you. They said they didn't experience this at any level. It fixes all your problems, of course. I hopefully have been diligent enough to describe to you that this is not something that's going to fix all your problems. Now, their overall conclusion, is this worth it? It depends, because the effects it had on me might not be the same for everybody. I think that's a very mature thing to say. I already have a nutritionist and I'm giving all my body the nutrients it needs, and I train a lot. Looking back, after I released recently, it was something that they felt like they did not regret, because it felt like they were holding in a piss for 6 weeks. It's no joke, and it takes a lot of dedication. My personal opinion is, if you are somebody who has his life together already, but feels like there is an invincible barrier blocking you for your potential, then this might be an antidote for you. But if you're a loser and expect SR to suddenly fix your life, personally, I don't think it will. I don't necessarily agree with the latter point. I like to believe that the benefits that an individual gets from going on this journey is not actually anything to do with SR in and of itself, but it is the emotional relationship that you have to yourself, meaning the confidence and lack of shame and lack of victimhood, and the positive emotions that you have towards your character when you start to rid yourself of a habit that is very, very shameful, can give you the confidence to start almost like tree branching, like monkey branching to other habits, meaning it might lead to you having the confidence to start going to the gym, and then start talking to more girls, and then start meditating, and then start your own business. I really believe that if you are, as this individual describes, a loser, this could be the spark in a self-improvement fire that gets you going into all different areas. So I think it's actually more valuable to individuals who are perhaps a little bit more in a darker place. Perhaps it is to individuals who are doing fairly well in their lives. I always like to see this as a tool in your toolbox. Don't become dogmatic. Don't become ideologically possessed. Use this with intention in your life where you require extra energy, resources, and fundamentally more performance from yourself. And I think that's the very, let's say, modern, new agey, traditional amalgamation of that particular perspective. But I could be wrong. These might be theories, maybe not facts. You tell me. Speak soon.